Hello, my name is Trudy, and I'm one of the creators of Design Packs, a Shopify app that allows you to add sections and templates to your existing Shopify theme. I'm also a developer who runs an agency called nth-of-type, and I started using Design Packs for my own development. I wanted to do a little presentation on how easy it is to create custom looks with Design Packs with just a little knowledge of CSS. So these are the actual designs for this site that I built for Sunday Farms, and so when I got these designs from the designer, I looked at this and I said, this again looks like the value icon's horizontal. So let's see if I can use that as a jumping off point and build this from here. So now for this tutorial, I made this starting off point, which is, this is what just the general value icon's horizontal would be. So we have these icons and then a title and some text here. And so I thought that I could just take a little bit of CSS and make this into something like this. So let's get started. So here's the section, and I've just set everything up with, fonts and some settings, the colors and everything. And so now we're going to focus here on the custom CSS. So what I want is these headings to be floating over the icon. So we're going to want to make that position absolute. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to set the whole item to position relative, because position absolute is to its next relative parent. So we want that relative parent to be close. So we have fine-grained control. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the image wrapper and we're going to set that to be position absolute, because then it doesn't take up its own space and everything will shift up above it. Now, obviously, the spacing is a little off now because we've just done it to the wrapper. And I've already done the code for this, so I know that it's going to end up looking good. So we position absolute it. We top it to 150 so that we're pushing it down a bit. And then we do this thing, which is a trick to center position absolute things, which is left 50%, but then transform it back on the x-axis negative 50%, which accounts for the actual size of the icon. So if we took this off, you could see it would be off center because the left doesn't take into account the size of the actual icon. And then we've just set the width to explicitly be 194 pixels across. Then for spacing purposes, again, we're going to take the inner content and we're going to just add a padding top, again pushing things down. And then the text, again, we're going to add a padding top to push that text down a little bit. We're then just going to make the heading like a little bit bigger relative to the other size. Now you can just make the whole text bigger in the section, like you can change the size of the text, but that'll change all of the text, and we just want to make the headings a bit bigger, and then also add some more margin just for spacing purposes, so you can see now that we see the whole icon, but obviously it's still a little bit off. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use before elements for the little accoutrements. Before elements for these types of things is really useful and a really great thing that goes with design packs, because you can just add little flares here and there to make your design really your design as opposed to just the generic design that you get out of the box. So in this case, we're going to see that we're just adding a height of 65, so a content of nothing, and then essentially it's a little dash line. So you can see border right, 1px dashed, and then 0, and that's what creates these things. And then we're just spacing it, margin 0 auto to center it, but then also 100 margin at the bottom to set everything so that everything is, the titles are centered and the spacing is all right. So that we have these three, and you can see that they also animate in with the element itself because it's a before on the small heading. So it's pushing down the small heading by 100, but it also animates in with the heading. And then for those other lines, we're going to use the nth type of selector again to just select the middle one, so nth type 2. And we're extending that line up by 63 pixels, and then also using this left center position absolute, we're just we're just creating another element to make this longer. And then we're just using another nth type selector to make a cross line. Or actually, we're selecting a different element. So on this case, we're selecting the second element, but the text. And in this case, we're just selecting the second element to create a width of 200%. So it's going across the whole thing. Again, we're doing left 50% to center it. If I take this off, you'll see that it's just off center. Top 63 because that's how high the elements are. And then we have this beautiful look, and it just looks a little bit more styled, a little bit more unique, and gives your site a little bit more personality. And it animates in kind of nicely. And if you don't want the animation, you can always just turn the animation off. Then we can also go to the mobile view, and it's still a little bit off because the spacing is a little bit off, and we still have this extra line, which is kind of looks weird on mobile. So for mobile, we're just really gonna adjust the spacing a little bit. So we're like taking the top off. We're just adjusting padding here and there on certain elements. And this is just, you just get from playing around with it. You just sort of have to figure out. It's pretty easy once you've set. I made the icons a bit bigger. So you can see this is what we want. We want these ones above here. We still have extra elements around. So you can see it's starting to come along. And then we kind of just want to take some of the elements away. So with an after or before, you can just set content to none, and then the content will disappear. So we're doing this for those two extra lines that aren't connected to the actual icons themselves. So now we just have these three lines. Those two cross lines aren't there anymore. And then we're just adjusting the font size a little bit, fit in here. And then we have like a beautiful mobile experience that's obviously quite different from the desktop. And then we can save it here. So we can go back to see what the original one looked like. And we have this here. And then we can just do a refresh and boom. It's just like a little bit more style. It has a little bit more flair, which is what I really enjoy with the before and afters, and then the nth type. These are the two selectors that I've been using a lot with design packs just to add extra elements and specific designs, but it's been really fun.